From the Hype HQ studio in Chicago, Illinois, it's Startup Hype Man, the podcast. Hello, everyone. My name is Raj Nation, and I am the founder of Startup Hype Man. Fast-growing startups work with me because they want to become better storytellers. Whether that's for customers, investors, or a packed audience, they know that story is their ticket to stand out, stand apart, and change the game. And this podcast here is where I talk with entrepreneurs and leaders in the startup ecosystem, ranging from scale stage to early stage, as they share specific strategies that they have executed to stand out across three specific areas: sales, marketing, and people. Before we begin today's episode, remember you can head to startuphypeman.com and subscribe to the newsletter that doesn't suck. You'll get new podcast episodes and timely reads written by me, but also helpful articles from around the web and a notice of upcoming pitch competitions. All right, let's dive in and hear how today's guest is changing the game.
Ladies and gentlemen, making his way to the microphone, born and raised and currently residing in Chicago, Illinois, he is the VP of Sales, Marketing, and Success for PeopleVine. Please welcome Mobolaji Akintunde. And the crowd goes wild. Ladies and gentlemen, he's Mo Akintunde. He is the VP of Sales, Marketing, and Success at PeopleVine. What's PeopleVine? A member experience platform, or MXP as they like to call it, that allows owners and operators of member-based organizations to connect, engage, sell, and reward their members at scale. PeopleVine has been around for about 5 years now. Mo has been with the company for 4 of those years. They have only raised $820,000 in their lifetime, and they've achieved over 200 customers in that span. And that includes companies like Chick-fil-A, United Airlines, and then locally here in Chicago, some names that Chicagoans might know like 1871, M-Hub, 2112, and others. Our topic today is growing sales through channel resellers. Mo, why is this on your mind? Why is it important to you?
I mean, it's something that we've been executing for some time at PeopleVine, and we see that it's been working. So if it ain't broke, don't fix it, baby.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. So as we get into this episode, we're going to dive more into what is the thing that doesn't need to be fixed because it's working well for PeopleVine. Before we do that, let's learn a little bit more about you. I learned the last time we talked, and to give everyone background, Mo and I have known each other for probably 4 years now. And we met when we were both speaking at the same event, I think at General Assembly, if I recall.
I actually met you before that when you were doing the Idea Lemon joint at what's that tech event? And it was at the Mart back in the day.
Tech Week. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Tech Week. Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember. I think you had a bow tie on at that point, and I remember you had a very distinct business card.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I was doing the fancy. Yes, sir. You talking about the little narrow?
Yeah, exactly. How is that for branding? And I think it just had like M. dot on it, right?
Yes, sir. Blessings.
So Mo and I have known each other for probably like 5 years now, actually. We just kind of like kept in touch and been in similar circles for a while. We've done different things in that time. But what I only recently learned from the last time we talked, which was a few days ago, is that your 2 kids are named Rumi and Maya, named after the poets.
Correct.
So I'm curious to know, how has poetry impacted your work?
Great. Well, it's a great question, actually. What comes to mind actually is art. So, I mean, obviously you can see behind me, I'm an avid art collector, my wife and I, and poetry is art. I used to write poetry. I'm an avid reader of poetry, and so is my wife. And so it's taking the art that comes with playing with words while creating big stories, ideally with small words, and that's how I think. And so inside of what I do, that same thinking goes into the sales process and goes into how I engage with customers. And that beauty, that sexy, we are a tech platform, right? We build visual things, right? Visual websites and portals. And so it has to have that sexy. The type of clients we work with as we get into this, sexy. I'm all about sexy. Yeah. So, yeah.
That's really cool. And I think, because, if I was going to associate a professional word with you from knowing you, it would be brand, would be the word I would associate with you. I think you got your personal brand down. I think you always think about that in the companies you're involved in. And to me, the way you just spoke about how poetry influences your work, I think in building a brand, you're better off treating it like an artist than treating it like a business person.
100%. I used to manage artists as well. So I was literally in the trenches. Now, I used to write, I used to spit, similar to yourself. And so coming from being a writer of rhythmic American poetry, you like that, right? To managing those that rap. I've been and my brother being in the music business, like it's just been all around me, art, words, visual. And so, yes, branding is what I do. I love visual things. I believe that people eat with their eyes. So
people eat with their eyes. I love that. Mm-hmm. Well, that's an interesting segue, because the last month you've actually not been eating. You've been fasting for Ramadan. And yes, tell me, now, this isn't a new thing for you, I presume. You do it every year. It's not just you decided to do it this year. So when this comes around every year, and being in the midst of it right now, do you find is it making you work differently at all?
That's a great question, man. Yes. So it actually, first of all, for those that may not necessarily be familiar, Ramadan is the time in the year where we fast, right? And so fasting generally goes, at least this year, it's from sun up to sundown, but really, to give you some preciseness, it's from about 4 a.m. to 8 p.m. It's about 15 hours, right? Of like stone cold, no food, no water, nothing, right? And so what happens?
So I decided to put him on a podcast where his mouth gets really dry.
Hey, but again, as you mentioned, this is 11 years strong. So I kind of have some feel around it, and I'm honored to be on your podcast. So I'll do whatever. But inside of having fasting, at least what I'm experiencing now, and I've experienced the last couple years, is this almost, I don't want to call it a runner's high, because I've never actually experienced a runner's high, but how runners have described that high of, it's almost like you're floating. One of the things that I've seen inside of my work is my thinking becomes very sharp. I inspire myself in a lot of the things that come out of my mind. So I'm very creative during this time period. There was one other thought I had in my head about it as well. Very creative during this time period.
But having said that, is the sharpness, do you think, is that a function of, if your mind is not allowed to be preoccupied with food, it just has more focus?
That I do believe, correct, right? And it's partly you're not inundated with I feel like, I can say people in general, but I know for myself, when I want to avoid something, I go eat. Some people go to the water cooler. Some people grab coffee, right? When that's no longer a thing, a crutch, what are you going to do? You're going to attack the work, right? I'm not going to say the work is any different than the other time periods in the year when I'm eating, but when I can't hide behind a crutch called food or drink or water, then the only thing to do is to attack the work, because it has to get done, right?
Yeah, and it's so easy to just like, oh, let me have that cracker over there or that cookie,
Exactly.
Especially now being at home too, being stuck at home, it's like the pantry's right there.
It gives you that shot of dopamine, right? That feel good, right? And so you're like, oh, okay, you get that slight comfort, or you continue to consume, you get that comfort. But when you're uncomfortable, right? Like we're all in a time period right now where we're uncomfortable. And they generally say when challenges like these happen, innovation comes out of it, right? Yep. Sharp thinking comes out of it. New creation comes out of it. So one could say I'm dealing with a self-pandemic right now, right? So new creation is coming out of me, right? So,
that's interesting.
I never even thought about that. Like the words are coming out. It's flowing right now.
This is what we do. We provide beats so the other person can rhyme on this show.
Let's go.
All right. So our topic today, again, is growing sales through channel resellers. Can you first just walk us through, I gave the overview of PeopleVine in like one sentence. Can you just walk us through really what is this platform? How are companies using it? And then we'll get into that topic of the channel resellers.
Great. So PeopleVine is a member engagement platform. And generally how folks are using it is in a number of different ways. When we first started, it was a Swiss Army knife, right? So we have a lot of the bells and whistles, point solution platforms that marketers are using, operators are using. I'll call some of them out. Email newsletters, text messaging, loyalty programs, membership programs, forms and contests and CRM, like all of that lives inside of our platform. We're a lean enterprise platform. However, how folks have been using it today and what we've seen where it's been really working is around member-based organizations. You mentioned 1871, which is one of our clients in the co-working space, right? One of the verticals that we are really looking to seek dominance in, right? M-Hub and 2112, they have membership, right? So our platform is designed to help them manage those members and elevate the experience for those members. Everything from booking rooms or even applying, touring the facilities, or booking appointments to tour. As I mentioned, booking rooms, registering for events, receiving communication via text messaging or email, right? That's one vertical, co-working spaces. Where we're now really finding a lot of traction in as well is private clubs, social clubs, these clubs that high net worth individuals are participating in. A lot of these clubs and a lot of our clients live in New York. A lot of them are in Dubai. A lot of them are in the UK, right? That old money. Think about like the Soho houses of the world. Those are the types of clients that we're serving these days. And then we still have these big brands that come at us for campaign-based work. We're doing a job with a client right now. The largest carton manufacturer in the world. So they make your Vita Coco packaging for Coke, or they do your High C packaging, the juice boxes, right? Yeah. So we're doing a campaign with them right now over the next 6 months where they're leveraging our contest engines, our scratch off and our sweepstakes and so on and so forth. So we're like that Swiss Army knife of sorts.
How do you see, so like I mentioned at the beginning, like Chick-fil-A and United Airlines, like, no one traditionally thinks of them as a member driven organization. How are they defining that, and how are they making use?
So I got to speak lightly about the Chick-fil-A and how they work with us, but we'll just say that there's where when we started off, as a young product, really trying to find our way, as most startups do, right? And then you pivot to what's working. You kind of go where the puck is, and so Chick-fil-A, we were working with them at the time where we were kind of finding our way, and at that time, what we solved for them was bringing more operational efficiency to a lot of to their workflow, right, for their owner operator. So that's what we've been providing them, and I kind of leave it there. And with United Airlines, it was really by way of a relationship we have with a lounge, an organization that does the lounges at airports, and they run a membership. It's all based on memberships, right? Yeah. So given our relationship with that client, we've been able to serve United Airlines as well, and them having their flight attendants, be able to purchase these memberships and engage with that client as well. So not trying to be ambiguous here, but
no. I mean, obviously you got to protect. You got to protect, yeah. Okay, so when we take this notion that PeopleVine has instituted of channel resellers, that's our topic, is growing sales through channel resellers. Most companies, when they think about how do we scale, they think about, hey, let's hire a bunch of salespeople, get them to sell our product firsthand, and grow in that fashion. And it's not that PeopleVine isn't doing its own sales, but you found a way to be really successful in a secondary route, which is finding people to actually sell the product for you. So I think a good starting point is, what made you think to do that in the first place?
So our CEO, Jordan, he actually came with me. He's been building this platform for many years, and it was actually his wisdom. And like, hey, we want to focus more on building the platform and less of being an agency, right? And that doesn't mean that as a SaaS platform you don't have salespeople, right? So, but when I say agency is we were doing the onboarding, and the setup and the configuration, right? Salesforce is not necessarily, well, one could say they do their onboarding as well, but really they channel you to third party consultants.
They have like implementation.
So we want to focus the implementation consultants, and that's where we wanted to get to. That's where we are going to get to. And in doing so, we now need to build a relationship with folks that could potentially get our name out there, and other folks that could potentially start to build manage the client and the account and so on and so forth. So it kind of came out of that thinking. And so we can focus more on building the platform. So Jordan was like, how do we stay lean? How do we grow revenue quickly? Well, I can only sell as many as I can sell, and I can get as many bodies in my office to sell as fast as they can sell. But with SaaS, right, and we can do marketing and advertising to onboard, but that still comes with implementing. So if we can start to open up an opportunity with partners that we need our technology stacks well with, like POS systems, like reservation systems, because we are targeting the hospitality industry. If we can partner with those types of entities that either already have ins, it makes it easier. We don't have to come in on a cold sale. We can kind of ride the backs of or utilize the relationship and the credibility that they already have, and they walk us in, because what we provide is a unique feature that not many people within our segments, there are not many platforms that do what we do. So that's where we found the opportunity with bringing that added value to what these channel partners are bringing to their clients.
So what was the process then for identifying, okay, these people would make sense, and then how did you connect?
We kind of felt we tripped into it, luck, right? I believe in luck, right? So it was in the beginning of our relationship with a hospitality group here in Chicago. They were interested with utilizing our platform, and this was maybe about 3 years ago. Yeah, almost 3 years ago. They were interested in utilizing our platform, and they were working with NCR for their POS. So when they brought us to NCR and said, hey, we want the experience of when diners come to any one of our 8 restaurants here in Chicago, we want the experience of customers not having to pull out their credit cards to check out. And the server can either take their membership ID number, because they are using us for loyalty. Okay. Mm-hmm. So they want the experience of, hey, when loyalty reward members, to elevate this experience, when loyalty reward members come to any one of our doors, we want them to easily be able to close their tab without having to pull out their credit card. Okay, cool. So they said, okay, well, that's going to have to take this loyalty rewards program called PeopleVine, or at least what they wanted to use this for, our loyalty engine, and the POS need to work together. So they knocked on NCR's door, who they were a customer of, and NCR is kind of giving us the cold shoulder, like, no, not right now. After a year of the customer constantly knocking at their door, they took a look at it, and they realized that, that actually is an added value. That makes sense. And I get the elevated experience it offers. So off of having that opportunity to be introduced to NCR by way of one of our customers, then Jordan started following up with the NCR reps, the person specifically responsible for partnerships and integrations. And, was kind of letting her know, hey, these are the new things that we're doing. This is where we can add value to NCR as a whole. Let's continue the conversation. Then one day there was this bunny that came out of New York called Playboy.
Literally.
Right? Literally, there was this bunny that came out of New York called Playboy. And so the NCR rep that's responsible for partnerships said, hey, Jordan, you know what? You've been knocking on my door, telling us about the different opportunities. I think I have a use case. Hey, meet the NCR rep in New York that's managing this client called Playboy, and the Playboy Club.
You might. So
we had that you may have, So iconic brand. We got to the table with them, and that's when we really kicked open that door with NCR and the Aloha POS product and their Silver Pro product. And so then NCR, since then, they started putting us on conversations with their team. We've participated in their annual sales conference in Atlanta last year. So we can start learning more about all the independent sales reps that, either control 1 or 2 unit restaurants, or they're dealing with these chain restaurants. We want to get to know them. Those are who our customers are, so to speak, right? Those are who we're talking to. Those are who we're sharing about the good stuff that People Vine has to offer. Those are the people that we're building a relationship with. It's like the influencer. Marketing talks about influencer marketing, right? They're the influencer that are taking us to the clients, right? And so I'm familiar with the influencer marketing game. I came from that era, right? Before what it is now, where the influencer was the one that was quiet. Not everybody knew the influencer. The influencer made waves without talking. That's how I see the relationship with NCR and our reservation partner. And so that's how I engage them, and I'm building stronger relationships with them, right? And turning it into a turnkey model.
Now, in this instance, you mentioned those, hey, like we stumbled into that opportunity with the country club, and that's how NCR came aboard. Are you now, and this is perhaps what you just kind of mentioned, is turnkey solution. Have you now built out a process to say, hey, here's a strategic way we can find other channel partners?
So we started to identify, and we're kind of cracking at that. One of the things that is in the vault right now of how we're going to go about doing it is identifying if we're talking about hospitality, right? What is the composition of their technology stack? Okay, let's just think about it, right? Every restaurant's going to have some type of POS cash register system because they got to collect the money. Ching, ching. Every restaurant is going to have some type of Wi-Fi system, whether it's just Comcast or they're using ZenReach, right? They have some type of Wi-Fi system. Well, does it make sense for People Vine to start partnering with some Wi-Fi companies? Right? Well, let's just think about it further. Every restaurant is going to have some type of reservation platform. Call it Open Table, call it 7 Rooms, call it Talk, whatever, right? Maybe we should partner with a couple of those, right? So now we're just part of the tech stack. We're just in the background. We provide you, the Mr. Restaurant owner. We provide the opportunity for you to elevate that experience. That's how we roll. So that's our strategy right now. Identify what the tech stack is comprised of and ease our way in and start to build with those people in those spaces.
It's a really smart approach looking at the tech stack. And what I want to ask you next has to do with, once you've got a channel reseller secured, like how do you actually train them up and get them to do this and represent the brand the right way? Before we go into that, I just want to take a second here, take a step back, and let our listeners know about a sponsor partner of the show in Sales Hacker. So if you are a longtime listener here, then you know that I feature B2B startups or marketplace startups. In this case, People Vine and Mo are from a B2B startup. And if you didn't know already, Sales Hacker is the world's smartest community for forward-thinking professionals. 135,000 members deep. So that means if you are a CEO, a head of sales, or a head of marketing and sales and success like Mo is, or you're a sales rep, Sales Hacker helps you get better at your job through things like podcasts, articles, webinars, and research from actual experts and practitioners, including moi, yours truly. I'm featured on there every now and then. You don't get fluff from outside like content marketers, although the irony is that I'm contributing to them, though I don't necessarily think I'm a content marketer, just a straight dope to grow your sales acumen. So I love what they're doing, and I'm so excited that they are a partner of the podcast, and they have been for the last several months. If you want to get involved, all you have to do is just go to www.saleshacker.com. And if you do that, you'll get the access to the articles, the research, the podcast, and more. Again, it's saleshacker.com, and they're actually rolling out something really cool real soon, so be on the lookout for that at saleshacker.com. Today on Startup Hype Man, the podcast, we're with my pal Mo Akintunde from People Vine. He's the VP of Sales, Marketing, and Success at People Vine. And we're talking about growing sales through channel resellers. So just before that break, Mo, I said what I want to ask you about next is the process with actually onboarding these resellers. Because I think there is let me put it to you this way. It's really easy to be like, let's say you're an HR company. Yeah, ADP would be a great partner. And it's also not that hard to say, oh, we had a really good intro conversation, to like get on their radar and be like, oh yeah, we had a really good intro conversation with them. What's difficult, and what happens to most companies, I feel like, is the momentum after that initial like pie in the sky discussion about how you could potentially possibly integrate with each other. And then if you do lock in that agreement, making sure that their company actually fulfills on reselling it. So let's break that down into two parts. First, let's take after the first meeting, how do you take it from, hey, this sounds good in theory, to no, let's actually put this into play and like get an agreement together around this?
So, I mean, I could tell you what we've done and what we're thinking right now.
Sure.
To do this with other technology platforms is come to the table with some money, right? Hey, Mr. Wi-Fi company, you know, I got a client right here who's interested in what you might have to offer Wi-Fi. They're interested in memberships. And we told them how, you know, when someone walks into your venue with our membership rewards digital ID card in their phone and they log into your Wi-Fi, there's this X experience that will happen. So that's how we've seen it's worked really well with NCR. That's worked really well with our partner 7 Rooms. It's always there's a client at the table and everybody's ready to start. Off the experience, then we go ahead and that's when it starts opening up from there.
So you're coming to them with a client of your, or someone you're talking to who could be your potential client, and then
or a client that we've already worked with.
Okay.
Or a client that we're working with, and that client is saying, okay, so PeopleVine has allowed me to run our loyalty really well for 2 years. And now we come to the table with an idea because we're upselling that client, or we're just helping them further gain more data or learn more about their customer, right? They're bringing more value to a client that's already with us. And we say, we have beacon opportunity, or, we can tie into your Wi-Fi based off the different membership levels. Would you like that idea? You would. Great.
Very cool.
Think about it.
So you open the door by arriving with a package.
Yep. Gary Vee says it, man. What are you bringing to me? Right? Yeah. It works.
Yeah, that's okay. That's a really smart.
What's in it for me, right?
So now you come to them with something. Obviously, it's going to accelerate then any conversation from there.
Exactly.
How do you get them to see that this is more than just a one-off example, and there should actually be a formal partnership agreement in place where they then resell what you have?
Well, so it takes some work. It takes some constantly having back and forth conversations. So I'm not going to come in here and say it's a silver bullet, tried and true with everyone. Everyone's different, right? NCR took almost a year of knocking at this partnership and integrations team, right? Same thing with Microsoft. We're still in the conversations with Microsoft, right? So it takes some time. So you do have to go through that romance stage and building that relationship. But again, when you come to the table with a project and they see the fulfillment of it, it's success, we come back for round 2. Like, okay, so now what client? So here's a good example. So with 7 Rooms, we worked on a mutual client called Park House. So there's a social club in Dallas that we worked with called Park House. That's where 7 Rooms and PeopleVine got a chance to rendezvous for the first time together, right? That client had a success. Well, the sales guy at 7 Rooms was very clear that what we have to offer in terms of membership, they don't have. And that's a benefit for a lot of the restaurants and the clubs that they're already working with. So if he can show value, that would make sense. And one of the things that really got him there was there was a I don't want to call it a deficiency, but there was an area within the technology that they couldn't provide for Park House. So Jordan, as a developer, said, you know what, we can ease that, or we have a solve for that gap that will make 7 Rooms a desired reservation system for Park House. And so when Jordan built that piece of technology that, I don't want to call it middleware, but he built a facade, so to speak, that was that Park House loved. It allowed 7 Rooms to get the job. And so the sales person at 7 Rooms said, you know what? I like the way you guys move. I'm gonna take you to some of the clients that we have that we don't have the value that you offer, which is memberships. Yeah. So again, you could say that's a unique case, but I also say that you got to look for those. Like, we see that when we bring something to the table that's, one of our clients may not be able to land a deal. That's an opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
Let's help them land a deal. Right. So we'll use that as a model for other situations. Right.
Well, and I think it comes back to,
but again, everything is, I almost want to say this, it's not. Go ahead.
Well, I think it comes back to, one of the principles of selling in general is provide value for the other person.
That's it.
And this is the same. I mean, it's selling. It's just selling to a different stakeholder in this case. And what you're telling me is that you're constantly in building these relationships. You're doing it as a relationship building process where you are looking at how do we come to them with value.
Value, exactly. So there's no real tried and true way. There's a method that worked. Right. But the real method is finding where that gap is that we can bring a solution to. Right.
And then it's not
whether
forcing
it's
it
inherent. Exactly. It's like, dates that work. I mean, relationships that work is filling each other's gaps.
Yeah.
I mean, that's literally what people say. We fill in each other's gaps.
Yeah.
So we see where there's a gap is. We're looking for the gap. We're listening for the gap. We're having conversations, and yes, we may be talking for a year. That's because a gap hasn't been discovered through that year. But we're going to keep talking because once you cut off the communication, then you'll never discover the gap, right? So that's how it's been working so far, right? So we do have, with co-working spaces, you think about where there's an opportunity. What about the key access companies, right? When you come into the front door, like Envoy, right, or some of these other Keyscan. Right. So there's a lot. Our team is quite small, so we can't eat all of them at the same time. So we just got to move slowly.
Yeah. Progressively in a way where you can handle it.
Yep.
We're talking with Mobolaji Akintunde, or Mo for short, from PeopleVine today. The last part I want to ask you about before we begin our wrap up here in the final few minutes is let's call it the onboarding and the customer success, quote unquote, of getting the reseller relationship to work. How do you ensure that they are reselling the PeopleVine brand appropriately, hitting on the right value points, and being an accurate representation or extension of your company?
Great question. So luckily enough, we're in the membership portal game, right? So we spin up portals for clients all the time. And so the opportunity that lends us, affords us, is to create a sales portal and partner portal where all that content, logos, scripts, sales sheets, case studies lives inside this portal. We make it very available and easy for these sales reps to go in and grab what they need. We can change, go in and out of it, right, and change content at scale. So it makes it very easy. So, and then we're building what we call a PeopleVine Academy right now. So we're still building the content for the Academy. So that's going to be an ongoing, reservoir of content. And, at some point we may look at our system or another system that can walk people through a training of sorts.
So it becomes in a way, and in that model, it becomes in a way like HubSpot certified, but you have like PeopleSpot certified reseller, right?
Correct.
Yep. Sorry, PeopleVine certified reseller. Yeah.
We knew what you were talking about.
Yeah.
So we're early in this right now, right? We're early in this right now. We walk, again, our team is lean. We walk really slow. Right? We're looking at data. We're understanding how the relationship is working, so that then we can go back and duplicate it. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's you've laid the foundation work, though. The groundwork is there. The foundation is there to be able to create these now like more systemized processes where you can start to remove yourself, like remove a human being from like the active training process.
Correct. To automate the process. Yep.
Which means in turn, your own brand has to be on point, that you know how to teach it to someone else, which a lot of companies I don't think are at that point where they know their own value props so well, they know their own customer base so well, they know how to talk about it so well that they could just create a package and give it to someone else to say, here, you do that. If you watch this, you're fine, as long as you do the things we said.
Correct. It takes time, right? And you need to have the space. You need to have the capital in order to almost, and this is not, again, this is where we come from. Like we're trying to remove ourselves from being that agency, right? Right now we're the platform and we're the people that are onboarding, right? So we're either busy dealing with the bugs and the fixes in the platform, bringing some custom development or integrations to the platform, or we're setting clients up and sending them on their merry way, or we're doing the sales, right? We can't do all of it, as a small team. And so we found that there's the way to stay lean is to just get partners, right? But there's a dance in how you do it, right? Right now you got to build that content while you're still kind of going through the old cycle. And this is the cycle that we're in right now. We build that content, right? Once we get, as we continue to build our MRR, right, where we can say, hey, you know what, we can kind of slow down on sales for a little bit and focus that time and effort on building content and putting the system that we've now strategized and thought through, right? Putting that system in place and then going back and introducing that system to the partners that we already have. Test with them. Hey, like right now we have a portal that some of our partners are already playing it, right? Mm-hmm. So now we want to make the content in there clear and clear and clear. Then we bring more partners into it. It's a slow dance. It's a startup, right?
Right.
So it's just a new fundamental sales process. It's the startup of a new fundamental sales process that we've been tinkering with, and now we started putting it in play. It's working, which is bringing us more business, which could technically inundate us. So you know what I mean? Which then you got to expand and hire more people, and so it's just a slow process. Yeah. But we see the light at the end of the tunnel, so we're excited by it. So
let me ask you one final question then before we get to the wrap up. Do you ever have situations where your channel reseller offers a discount price because they're just trying to get the sale, and then you're like, well, we didn't, on your end, you're like, well, we didn't approve that.
Well, you mean when they discount our platform, or they discount their solution?
They discount PeopleVine.
We haven't had that, but we've had partners where they discount their solution, and so then the client feels like, yo, it's going to be a discount all around. Right? Okay. We actually just had a client who, Jordan and I kind of went back and forth, like, man, how do we deal with the situation? And sometimes we just have to take it to the chin, so to speak. And it's like, yo, we want that. We always want that MRR, right? It's that long money. So, sometimes we'll take it to the chin just for the sake of the relationship and the MRR,
Yeah. Okay. But you're involved then if there's going to be a discount. They're not just like, hey, by the way, I cut your price by 20% to win them.
No, they don't do that. What they do though, if they want to do that, they generally will come to us on the side and say, hey, you know what? Let's go in this together. Our client doesn't want to spend any more than X overall. Can you guys fit into that? We'll make concessions if you make concessions, but this is my bottom, So I actually had that conversation with a client, the reservation system for a client in London. So yeah. It's a game, man. It's fun though. It's a game.
Where can our listeners find you, and where can they learn more and find PeopleVine and learn more?
So PeopleVine, peoplevine.com, people, VINE, like the plant, vine.com. If you want to learn more about myself, you can go to Mobology. That's MOBOLAJI.co.uk. You got my bio. I speak as the startup hype man had mentioned. And I'm also on
Why
social.
a UK website?
Well, because UK, when I got the domain, I've always been a fan of UK advertising. And they're very sophisticated, very thought-provoking. And so I'm like, and I looked for .com.
Funny.
And it wasn't available.
Perception's a funny thing, because when I heard a .uk, in my head I was like, oh, UK. It was like it had like an air of sophistication to it.
And that's exactly. And when you get that business card, right, that has a UK, you're like, yo, I don't get many UKs looking like that. So
that's awesome. Okay, sorry. Where else then?
No, and then I'm all over social. All of my handles are at Mobillionaire, right? MO Billionaire. And there's AIRE, Mobillionaire. Yeah, that's just, and then all the handles for PeopleVine at PeopleVine. Very easy.
Awesome. To wrap up, what we do is give our top one or two lessons or takeaways for the audience based on the conversation today. I'll start and then I'll toss it to you. The key things I learned from this were a great path to identifying who might be the right people, right channel resellers, is to go to the tech stack of your customer and see who else are they doing business with. Who else does your customer need to operate? And then see within that tech stack potential, who makes sense as a fit. And I think the other thing too was, I love how you phrased it, come to the table with money. Provide value up front to be able to start that conversation. Don't start with an ask. Mo, top one or two takeaways or lessons for the audience?
I'd say, you come to the table with value. I hate to, kind of.
Well, I took your words, so
that's. But it's real. It works outside. It's just the rule of life. Come to the table with value. Mentor, mentee, whatever. Salesman, customer. Come to the table with value. And the other one I would say is, relationships is key. It's about the relationship, and every salesperson that's watching or listening to this podcast is going to get that already. So I'm probably not saying anything that you haven't heard, right? But it doesn't hurt to remember that.
Yeah. And I know what it's like in practice too. I think people understand the idea of it, but they don't implement it very well.
Exactly, and relationship really takes. I say it's like filling in each other's gaps. So listen for the opportunity. Listen for the opportunity, which is listen for the gap. The opportunity is the gap.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and that's the opportunity. It's the gap. Fill in the gap. So
fill in the gap. Love it. My final question, which is how we close out every episode on the show. Speaking of filling in the gap, I need you to fill in the blank, Mo. Fill in the blank. Entrepreneurship is blank.
Relationship. Entrepreneurship is relationship. Right, both boats that you swim in, both ships that you can swim in, right, or that you can stay afloat. But entrepreneurship is relationship.
Awesome. He is Mobolaji Akintunde. He is the VP of Sales, Marketing, and Success with PeopleVine. Mo, thank you so much for joining me today on this episode of Startup Hype Man, the podcast. And I hope you are able to get even more creativity in your work from home creative dome, as I see all the artwork behind you, and get more focused with the remainder of your fasting period.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
That wraps up today's conversation. Did you like what you heard? Startup Hype Man, the podcast, is available on every major platform, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, and more. So be sure to subscribe on your platform of choice and leave a rating and review. Do you want to be an upcoming guest on the show? Email media@startuphypeman.com with your idea, and my team will review. Our theme song is Change the Game by Jay-Z, all rights owned by Rockefeller and Def Jam Records. And hey, if you want to work together on making your startup story the only one that matters, email me at rajiv@startuphypeman.com. That's RAJIV@startuphypeman.com. Well, that'll do it for today. Thank you for listening. Thank you to today's guests for joining. You have been checking out Startup Hype Man, the podcast. I'll catch you next week. But in the meantime, word up, raise up.